What's good, YouTube? It's Justice I Used to Be Pay, and today I'm back with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the relationship between rap fans and death. But before I get into that video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those things, it helps me out a ton. If you're around my age, in your 20s or maybe your early 30s or your late teens, then you have probably seen one of your favorite rappers die. If not, your very favorite rapper die. Now, that's not anything new to rap. Rap has always been a genre that's kind of intertwined with the street life and dangerous and volatile lifestyles. So it's not anything new. And again, that's not everybody. That's not every rapper, but that's always been a present thing in rap. So old heads don't kill me. Like, not every single, you know what I'm saying. But it's just a little bit different in this modern generation. This relationship has just kind of changed a little bit. This dynamic isn't the same. We've seen major stars in rap like XXXTentacion, Juice WRLD, Pop Smoke, and King Von meet an untimely demise in a very public manner. Okay, it's not like these guys just died and we all knew about it. No, it's very public. It's a little bit different than in the past. And this has led to a strange relationship between rap fans, death, and rappers, or the characters that are in rap. And I use the word character very intentionally. Social media has changed the way that we live life, including the way that we see death. At any moment, you can pull up your phone and watch somebody lose their life in very brutal fashion. We've all been in middle school or high school and sat next to that one weird kid, or maybe that weird kid was your friend, and they show you a video of, let's just say, somebody using a weapon as a toothbrush. Like, we've all kind of seen these things if you've been on the internet for long enough, or maybe you haven't, maybe you've gotten lucky, but most of us have probably come across some stuff like that. And this is no different in rap. Rap is no exception. We have seen countless rappers lose their life on camera, or if not lose their life on camera, we've seen the immediate aftermath in seeing their bodies, like in XXXTentacion. And that's a major difference between this generation and the previous generations. Obviously, rapper deaths have always been a big deal, Tupac, Biggie, all that stuff. Like, it's always been a big deal, don't get me wrong, but there was typically a lot more vagueness when it came to, these rapper deaths. Maybe everyone in the public knew like the cause of death, but after that, the details were very grimy. Most people just didn't really know. They're just like, okay, this person died from an overdose. Maybe they were shot. I don't know what happened really, but like, we just kind of know how they died. But in this modern era, it's different. Everything is social media. Everything's online. Everything is being recorded. Everyone is being recorded. So we're a lot closer to these deaths than people were in the past. That's why you can have a theory like maybe Tupac's alive in Cuba, because nobody was there that night recording and seen it happen and recorded him getting, or losing his life, or nobody came up to his body and had their phone out and said, oh my gosh, y'all, this is Tupac. Like, that didn't happen back then. That's why you were able to have these conspiracies. But nowadays, that happens every single time. Every single time a rapper dies, there's some sort of video coming out typically. Very, very rarely is it just completely a mysterious thing for longer than maybe a couple days. But back in the day, it could be a mystery for years, okay? People are still talking about the Tupac case to this day. The reality of our modern technological space has led to the desensitization of the rap fan when it comes to caring about rapper deaths or really seeing rapper deaths. It's almost like watching TV show characters or maybe playing with your favorite video game character. Because when you see a death so many times, when you see rappers die so many times, eventually it starts to lose steam, because that's just kind of how things typically work in general. You see something so many times, eventually you care a little bit less about it every single time that you see it. And the whole dynamic between rap fan and rapper and that relationship has really changed because of social media. Again, because right now, we're closer than ever to our favorite rappers. You can see what your favorite rapper had for breakfast. You can see what your favorite rapper had for lunch. You know their favorite basketball team. You know what TV show they may be binging at the time. You know a lot more about your favorite rapper than any other time in history. So you feel closer to them. But also at the same time, you're super far away from them because you're not in their real life situations. You're not in that lifestyle. At least for most people, they're still really super far away from that person's real life scenario. So you're close, but you're far at the same time. And the only thing that you can really kind of compare that to is a TV show character or, a video game character where you know a lot about them. You're intrigued. You're very much heavily invested, but you still, despite that closeness, feel that sense of distance because you know that's not your reality, and that's not typically reality for most people. Let's just say, obviously not for everyone, but for most people, that are in the average rap fan space's surroundings, that's not their reality whatsoever. Also, rap itself as a genre has continued to expand since its inception to the point in which now rap is always competing for the number one genre in America and one of the biggest genres in the world in general. And that, let's just say, the original intended audience that was there for rap is no longer the main audience. More white people actually listen to rap than black people, and that's just because there are more white people in America than black people. But you kind of get the picture I'm painting here. It's a little bit easier to be empathetic to someone and relate to them and see yourself in their shoes when they look like you and come from the same culture as you. And that's not me saying that white people can't be empathetic to black rappers or they can't be rap fans or anything like that. I'm just saying in general, on a surface level, that tends to be the case. That's why somebody like myself never really wanted to give country music a try like that. But when Beyonce said she was dropping a country music, I was a little bit more willing to actually listen to the genre. It's just kind of how things work in a general sense. Not always the rule of thumb, but you understand the picture I'm painting. So fans get entangled in these rappers and their characters and whatever they're into, whether it's beef or drugs or anything in between that. But also at the same time, they lose a little bit of that relatability because it's like, you're watching a show. It feels like you're watching something that's entertainment or made to be entertainment. And what has really revolutionized this kind of strange relationship between rappers and rap fans is the early Chicago drill era in the 2010s. The rise of drill rap in Chicago in the 2010s was kind of the start of this strange relationship. Chief Keef and Chicago really piqued the interest of the average rap fan when it came to like how dangerous these dudes were and them infusing that real life danger into their music in real time. That was really the difference between what they were doing in Chicago and what pretty much any other gangster rap era had ever done when it comes to rap music, because these dudes were rapping about things that happened 2 days ago, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. If it was anything past like a month, bro, that was old news. Like these dudes were rapping about their real life that day, maybe even rapping about stuff that was going to happen 2 days from now. Like that's the difference. And that's what really made it so interesting to a lot of people. It was a lot more direct and immediate compared to anything that happened in the past. And this was also really the first major instance of dissing of the dead in music, and that really becoming a popular thing. Of course, somebody's going to say, oh, well, this person in 2006 said this, but when it really became popular was the 2010s in Chicago. There's just really no doubting that. And this is when figures like Tuka became super synonymous with disrespect to the point in which people were saying smoking on Tuka so much, people legitimately thought it was like a strain of weed or something. Like they didn't even realize that this was a person. That's how synonymous the name Tuka became with smoking. And people really not even being able to pick up on it because of how often these guys were saying it and how they took something that was typically taboo and just made it sound so regular, so normal that this couldn't be a person. This couldn't be something disrespectful. This had to be some sort of Chicago strain of weed because this is how casually they talked about it. It also created a thing and a culture of like deciphering lyrics to the point where it was like almost like a game to try to figure out what was in this lyrical content. And I don't just mean them trying to figure out, these on double entendres that they're using and what clever bars they were putting down. I don't mean deciphering lyrics like that. I mean deciphering lyrics to figure out the layout of the Chicago gang scene, to figure out who's aligned with who did what to who, which side is up on the scoreboard when it comes to this beef. That's the type of stuff that really developed from this Chicago drill era. And that's how we have the culture today of whole Reddits being dedicated to figuring out gang politics in an area just based off of lyrics in social media posts like Chiracology. There were also massive moments in the scene that will be remembered forever when it comes to rap fans because they played out in a way that like you would watch a movie and see this type of stuff play out and you would say, oh, that's just unbelievable. That would never even happen in real life. Like that's how ridiculous some of this stuff was. Like the Lil Jojo thing where, Lil Jojo was one of Chief Keef's biggest ops and, him and his guys were beefing with Chief Keef and his crew. And Lil Jojo ended up tweeting out his address one day and literally losing his life via a shooting in like an hour, like something like that. Like just stuff that was just so ridiculous that it'll never be forgotten. Or the multiple rappers who ended up beefing with Lil Reese and then losing their life shortly thereafter. Like these type of things happen that just really stuck in people's mind. And really what played a major factor in this as well, and this kind of culture being created, not the culture in Chicago that led to the gang stuff, but I mean the culture of this weird relationship of fans and rapper deaths. This was all also being narrated by DJ Academics and the War in Chirac YouTube page. Now, I'm not going to sit here and bore you to death finger wagging at Academics for the War in Chirac page. That's already been done enough. We get the point. I don't need to jump in and do it again. We all know that was bad, and he shouldn't have done that. Like, I don't need to overly explain that again. But what I am going to do is give you the perspective of somebody who was actually watching the content at the time. And, maybe you weren't around back then, but I was watching that stuff. I was only like 11 or 12, maybe 13 at the oldest when he was still running that page. But I remember that content. And what it really did, at least for me as a middle schooler, as a child, was it took this really wild, unimaginable place of just death, destruction, and tragedy and turned it into funny content. Now, obviously, my opinion on the page has changed as I matured. Obviously, I'm not saying this was good content. He should have kept doing this. This was great. Obviously, we've all matured since then, especially me going from a child to an adult. So I know better now. But at the time when I didn't know better, I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy the content. I'd be lying if I said I didn't watch the uploads, because, the satirical nature of the content juxtaposed with the extremely dire and serious and tragedy-like nature of what was actually happening made for enjoyable content. And it took something that was super sad and super serious and just really, really a horrible situation and turned it into like rap professional wrestling. That's kind of how the content was portrayed. It took something that was horrible and turned it into like a circus show almost, turned it into like a TV show. Like I was watching the DC, Justice League, or maybe the Marvel Avengers when it came to the War in Chirac. The nicknames, the 5-star war general, the Chirac Grim Reaper, the Chirac Lucifer, all these nicknames could have been like great nicknames for a Chicago upstart wrestling promotion. These crazy things that weren't even really thought of in like movies were turned into entertainment. You tuned in to see who died next or who got robbed or who got beat up. And the mixture of how unbelievable this stuff was to like the average person or the average rap fan at the time, let's just say, and the comedy and entertainment made of the situation by social media, and how little regard people involved in the incidents actually had for some of the things that they were doing, led to fans around the world seeing this as some sort of like bizarro land TV show rather than real people who were losing their lives and going through horrible things due to their surroundings. This era was the start of fans really having a weird relationship with death. And we ended up with a lot of fans who were kind of sitting, waiting, and watching for things like this to happen. And in return, it created an avenue for these type of things. It created an audience for these type of things. And rappers saw that. Rappers saw that there was kind of a come up in this wild, crazy genre area of the internet of just doing ridiculous stuff or putting their crazy, politics out there for the world to see. So this led to an uptick in, rappers dissing their ops, dead or alive, mostly dead now. This led to people going to grave sites and, vandalizing grave sites and posting themselves, disrespecting grave sites, recording music videos at their ops grave sites. It led to people doing all types of stuff when it comes to tweets and social media posts, people chasing people down with their camera out, hoping to violate somebody on camera. Like, it just led to a lot of things that typically would be kind of, let's just say, hidden because they're highly illegal for the most part, or you wouldn't want to do them publicly because it really is going to put a target on your back. And it turned all these things into clout tokens. They're now clout points. People were doing all these crazy and wild stuff for the clout that was there because there's now an audience for this type of stuff. This is how we end up with songs like Who I Smoke or The Naughty Bop, or how we get rappers on IG Live threatening each other and trying to pull up and, take each other out for the sake of IG Live. This is how we end up with fans trolling rappers over their friends dying. This is how we end up with, the whole slide for Von trend that was a huge thing in Dirk's comment section for a couple years. This is how we get the entire career of FBG Duck just being filled with trolls trolling him about his friends dying and what the other side was doing to his friends and all that type of stuff. Fans treating these deaths as a story narrative or a plot point because what is there to take serious? These rappers die every couple months anyway. This is the reason that someone like Trap Lord Ross exists now. People can be mad all they want at Trap Lord Ross and, you know, talk about him making these videos and making money off these stories and these people dying and all that stuff. But he only exists because there's a big audience of people who want to know about this stuff now. There's a big audience of people who are interested in this stuff. They want to know, was King Von really involved in 10 bodies? Did NBA Youngboy really end up getting 7 people killed? What happened with all of Lil Durk's friends dying? What are the circumstances on that? We want to know about that. There's an entire audience for that. So I'm not sitting here trying to co-sign for Trap Lord Ross and everything that he does, but I just want people to understand that there is an audience for this now. There's a reason he exists. And if it wasn't Trap Lord Ross, it would be somebody else. And there's plenty of pages just like Trap Lord Ross. So I want to really establish the fact that he only exists because of a culture that existed before him. Trap Lord Ross didn't come in and create this culture of people being interested in these things. It already existed, and he just kind of fulfilled those people's hunger. We as fans have literally seen some of these rappers die on camera. We saw King Von get shot. We saw what happened to FBG Duck. We saw X's body shortly after his death. We saw Takeoff's body shortly after his death. We saw Nipsey Hussle's body shortly after his death. We are now seeing these things. It's no longer taboo. It's no longer, oh my God, like, you know, it's shocking when rappers die. I'm not going to say it's not shocking, but it's just different. It's not taken as serious anymore. It's shocking in the way that it was shocking when Family Guy killed off Brian. And I'm not saying this to disrespect those rappers. I'm just talking about the perception of fans online nowadays. I'm not trying to disrespect them. I want that to be very clear. But it's just not taken as serious anymore. It's more of a spectacle. Fans nowadays celebrate the death of their favorite rapper's ops. Now, obviously, this isn't all fans or most fans, but it's a good enough population, a good enough chunk of fans to where it makes a serious impact. Youngboy fans were celebrating like their favorite team just won the Super Bowl when King Von died. They were trolling Durk. They were so excited. Some people were so excited that they even made King Von's leaked autopsy picture their profile pic. Some of them even sent his autopsy picture to his sister. They were spamming her DMs with that picture. The culture of desensitization when it comes to disrespecting the dead has not just stopped at the rappers. It has now spread to the fans. It's now a thing that fans do. I remember, this is going to be like a really big callback if you've been, a supporter of mine for a long time. On my TikTok, maybe 2 years ago now at this point, I made a video when there was a trend to a Chief Keef song. I can't remember the song, but there was a trend and there was a dance. And it said smoking on Tuki Tuki, and people were like smoking. And I was like, y'all don't find this trend weird? Like we smoking on a dead 15-year-old and y'all dancing to it. Like, again, I get it. You gonna sing the songs, you gonna say the lyrics. I understand that. But like doing a trend where you're like imitating smoking when it's talking about smoking on a dead 15-year-old, I was like, isn't this kind of weird? And people were jumping down my throat like, oh my God, bro, y'all the fun police. Y'all just want to ruin everything. Y'all just. And I was talking about, hey, this is kind of strange, right, guys? And I was the bad guy. As a rap fan in the modern era, you have to be very comfortable with the fact that your favorite rapper could be gone tomorrow, whether that's due to gang issues, drugs, or sometimes, sadly, even their own mental issues. Now, this can happen to literally anyone, but sometimes as a fan, you try not to get, or you at least try to learn not to get too attached to rappers because you never know what happens or you never know what could happen. I remember when Pop Smoke was my favorite rapper. He was my favorite up and coming rapper. And I remember waking up for school and checking my phone the morning that he died and just being like, damn. Like that was really the only thing I could think was damn. I remember when Juice WRLD was one of my favorite rappers and he passed away. It's just like there's kind of a dark cloud hanging over the rap fandom because of how volatile their lives can be at times. Just a couple of weeks ago, Lil Baby was involved in a shooting where like 3 people were hurt when he was trying to record a music video, and it's like no one cared. Basically, an attempt on his life was made, and it's like, oh, well, he didn't die, so nobody really made it a big story or anything like that. Fans of rap nowadays are kind of similar to people who used to go to the Coliseum back in the day, in my opinion, at least. That's kind of a comparison I like to make. Now, not everyone is there to see blood and guts. Not everyone wants to see the gladiators go at it and end each other's lives. But there's a decent population of people who are there to see that and want to see that happen. Now, that's not most people or even half of the people, but still, it's a decent population. Social media has kind of turned this thing into a circus act. Everything is a circus act and everyone has a role to play in the circus. The audience is there to engage with the performers and make sure that these performers get compensated, whether that's social currency or real currency. They're there to engage with the act. The performers are there to perform the act no matter how humiliating or sad and tragic that act may be. And the announcers slash commentators are there to paint the picture for the audience and paint it in a way that's a lot more funny and humorous and lighthearted. So the atrocities that they may be watching ends up being a little bit more digestible in the end. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm just yapping. If you made it this far, I greatly appreciate it. If you agree or disagree, please make sure you leave some comments down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I go by the name of Justice, and I'm out of here. You be safe. Peace.